Hello, everyone. Welcome to the webinar. My name is Helen Hall, and I'm one of IEEE USA's webinar coordinators. Jean O'Brien is presenting today, but before I turn things over to Jean, I want to go over a few housekeeping rules. We do encourage questions, so type your questions in the chat pod, and the presenter will answer them at the end of the presentation. I am recording the webinar, and it will be available on IEEE USA's website, along with the slides within a few days. At the end of the webinar, you will see a survey on the screen, so if you would take a minute or so to respond to the survey, that would be great. Here is our presenter, Jean O'Brien.
Helen, thank you. I'm Jean O'Brien, and it's a delight to be here this afternoon. Thank you so much. I look forward to participating and answering any questions, comments that attendees have for the program. So thank you so much. I'm going to do a little introduction about myself, but have you look at this picture because this is what it's all about. This is us. This is all of us doing what we do for 40, 60-year careers is network. It's meeting new people, interacting confidently, exchanging information that's valuable for others to understand what our areas of expertise are. So while just kind of taking that in, look at the different people, the actions that are going on, and so forth. So about me, why am I here able to present this program? Is that I have over 20 years in human resources and all sorts of different levels of management and directorship and so forth. And as part of that, my role was definitely to make sure that our employees had excellent networking skills, and there were two ways to do that. One was by coaching and training internal networking skills for employees to gain visibility and to better communicate with all levels of professionals across the organization. And that meant during meetings, being on committees, staff meetings, regularly scheduled staff meetings or all staff meetings, and definitely meeting clients or potential clients. It also was good for retention because as an HR person, I definitely want to retain good employees. So it's retention and to gain promotions because of visibility, and definitely for succession planning for the company overall. Then there was also training and coaching for external networking events. So when employees went to conferences, annual meetings, attended social business functions, or other things such as that, they were always a representative of our organization and therefore also needed to have excellent networking skills. In 2001, I formed my own company, and since then I have coached and trained many, many individuals and groups on networking skills, whether they're employees to meet their professional goals within an organization or professionals who are perhaps in career transition looking for new positions. So I invite you to definitely look at my website to find out more about me, and my website is www.jean-O'Brien.com. I also want to tell you I am privileged to say that I presented this information to an IEEE Employment Network Northern Virginia section this past April. It was my pleasure to interact with members, and I hope to interact with more members. So that's a little bit about me, and just an intro into this program. There are 7 ways that we wanted to focus on networking skills that are all important. There is a system, there is a process to be successful in networking, and they are definitely having a strategic plan for understanding how all this networking process works, to be prepared before, during, and after networking events, to craft a brief statement about yourself that you present in the communication when talking with other people, to communicate with your excellent body language, verbal, and social skills, know how you can benefit others, and by listening, communicating, and interacting, know your audience, different generations and cultures. Now, also, there's some social skills that go with all this. Almost every networking event we go to has food, and people have asked a lot of questions on how to maneuver food and beverages, so I'll talk about that a little bit. And to understand that it all happens very quickly, we need to become memorable in 5 minutes, and then move on to another person. So those are things we're going to cover within the program as we go through different things. So we had 2 questions that we put out as a poll. One was, how often do you actively network? Now the answer should be every day, of course, but what happens, the majority of responses we got is only when attending company meetings and functions. So that's important, but I hope by the end of this program you see how important it is to do it very actively every day. So thank you for responding to that question. And then another one is, how comfortable are you with your current networking skills? Now, hopefully there were some that said that it was working well for them. The majority came back with the second and the third. They're quite comfortable, but I always want to add some more skills. So that's honest, that's really good. Or not confident that I'm presenting my unique values and expertise. So again, hopefully your time and involvement in this program will help to change those, the feelings that you have about your comfort level in networking. So going forward, what is networking? It is what's called an informal, because people are going, it's not a structured event, it's informal sharing of information and services to link you with people of other common interests. So if you go to an event that's sponsored by IEEE, all of you have the same common interest of being engineers or in the engineering world, and therefore you want to share information that's going to promote you for various, either a different situation or career path. So it's very important to do this constantly or continuously. And another one is that networking is really the most efficient, productive, and cost-effective method of meeting people face-to-face in front of decision makers. Now, people go to networking events to socialize, to meet new people, and for a number of different reasons. As an HR person, I would go to networking events if I was trying to recruit someone in the field. So if I was going to look for engineers, I would probably go to events that were IEEE and find you, or try to find you. A lot would depend on how well you networked yourself. So another one is that it's face-to-face meetings, and relationship building is definitely more effective than doing online or sending out a lot of resumes or by phone, cold calling, and so forth. So face-to-face is definitely the way to gain opportunities and appointments. And the next step is definitely you get to the next step quicker by face-to-face meetings. So it's very important to do that. All right, so we're going to move on. Why is it important? Well, as I mentioned, HR people, recruiters, and bosses are looking for people to move up into next positions, to be visible within the company and represent them in a very positive way. 70 to 80% of positions are found by people networking. It's connecting in person, not through the internet or online kinds of things. So it can be important, and not to say you shouldn't do them, but what's the most important and effective is actually in-person networking. So please keep that be aware of that. It is an ongoing process, and it helps others to understand the value and the things that you bring, your expertise, to think about you, to have you in their mind, to think about you for other career opportunities, and to introduce you to other people that can be beneficial for you. It's also initiating and laying the groundwork for building business relationships. Now, hopefully you've been building relationships since you entered into a career, whenever that may have been. So this is building on, networking is building on continuously. It's incorporating everyone that you've worked with in the past, friends, neighbors, relationship people, our family, members of family, and so forth. Everyone is part of your networking, business building relationship. So having a well-balanced business network also makes you very, very valuable as a resource to others. So people will say, well, I know someone who knows lots of other people And so I'm going to give Jean a call because she knows lots of people and will be a resource. So your name gets out, your visibility gets out, and you see as someone who stands out rather than blends in your community and your area of expertise. Know that these important skills continue throughout your career. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, 40 to 60 years of doing this. Can you imagine? Yes, it's exciting. It's very exciting. Okay. So there are two types of networking. One is the internal, and this is when you're within an organization. You definitely want to establish and practice the art of visibility within your organization. It's essential for others to know you and to be noticed for other opportunities. You never know when your boss is watching people in a meeting and how you interact with people and your people skills. So it's very important. You will become more of a valued employee by demonstrating your commitment and interest. Definitely, that's very, very true from an HR perspective. I can tell you that's very, very important to be seen as being, you're in different committees and you're visible different things and right there ready to commit and be interested. Become known as an expert in your field will be a natural choice for a promotion. People say, oh, well, we have this opening. Well, I know that Sam knows all these things. He's been doing it. He's a natural to put into the position because he's been showing his expertise in that field. So that's well done that you're doing that, definitely. Where is this happening? Everywhere, in meetings, committees, definitely in the hallways and in the lunchroom. I have worked with many organizations where presidents of companies walk the hallways, and the people they see more and more are the ones that kind of stick to their mind. It's about being prepared. It's almost like when you get on an elevator, you're comfortable and ready to know what to say to someone that maybe you don't know or you do know, and you're building more of that relationship. So it happens all the time. You want to stand out, not blend in. And hallways, you need to be out and visible, not just sit in your office all the time, but to interact with people is definitely very important. So let's look at the next one, which is external networking. The art of working the room, of going outside of the organization to an outside event to expand your professional network, such as IEEE, local, regional, and supposed to be national events, not nation, is very, very important. To confidently express yourself briefly so that others understand your expertise and knowledge is extremely important, and that's what external networking is. Getting noticed for other opportunities, as we mentioned, whether it's career or advancing up in your own organization or becoming a resource and into other organizations or events and so forth that you might be interested in. So how do we do all of this? All right. How we do it is by being prepared. Being prepared. To know what to do before attending a meeting, to confidently present yourself during an event or a networking event, and the important actions needed after the event. Those are the three places. So we're going to look at each one. So before an event, what do any of us need to do to prepare for this event? Well, there are four things. Need to know some information about the event itself, have a comfort level when you're going there. Once you walk into the room, your comfort level is in place, so you prepare ahead of time to do that. You need to know what your goals are for that particular event, and you need to contribute a memorable communication skills level for other people to say, oh, I remember this wonderful person at this networking event, definitely want to stay in touch with them. Okay, so let's look at the first one. What do you need to know about the event? First of all, why did you select this event? I have been to many events that I probably didn't do a great selection process, and they didn't seem to be very beneficial for me. There are events that people really go to network, and there are events that people go to follow the shrimp bowl around or just to socialize. So you want to, as best you can, identify events that are going to be productive and helpful. It's a lot of your time, sometimes money, and your energy, certainly, that you want to make sure that it's going to help you. Another thing you might want to know is what's the purpose of the event. That gives you something in common with others to talk about, or something of interest. It might be a charity event, it might be in honor of something, or it might just be bringing more, in your field, more engineers from a different location into town, or it might be really emphasizing recruiters coming to an event. So you want to know what that is. Do you have the correct location, date, and time? I know that may not sound too really that you have to think about it, but people actually have not done this information correctly and have missed out on an opportunity. I work and live in the Washington, D.C. area, and there are a number of large offices that have various locations. So I've known people who've gone to a wrong location for an event and have missed the opportunity to gain an advantage. So do check, make sure you have information correctly and the driving directions, and know if you're in traffic in different locations to add that to your time and finding and being there at the right time. And also to think about, if necessary, any security things. Do you need a picture ID with you? Will it take time to find a parking spot, get up into the building, sign in, and do everything that's necessary from a security point of view? So take those into account. Will you plan to arrive early? The answer is, of course, yes, I will. You want to go early when people are starting to come in and they're ready to network, they want to do all this. After a while, people might slow down, it might become a little more social, there are more people there, but definitely get there early for your best networking and energy level and so forth. How large a group is expected? This is important to know. When you walk into a room, will there be 30 people or 300 people? That gives you a different thought process on what it is how many people you might need to speak to, or what's going to be expected of you. It's almost like knowing before you go into an interview, will this be one-on-one, or am I going to be sitting down to a group interview? You just have a mental process you go through to prepare yourself. Will it be a stand-up and mingling or sitting down and eating? Stand-up and mingling is usually, if it's like an event from 6 to 8, most of that time we'll be standing and mingling. And the sitting down and eating, it might be mingling for about 30 minutes, or at the most 45 minutes, and you sit down to a breakfast, lunch, or dinner. That's a different kind of networking where you're not meeting everyone. All this takes place in 5 minutes, and I'll emphasize it more, but every time you're meeting with someone at networking events, it's a 5-minute process. But when you sit down and eat, you're probably with the same people about 40 minutes. So one thing that's very important is make sure you sit at a table where you feel people are going to be who will interact, and people perhaps that you went to meet. You knew they might be there, and you wanted to make sure. When I started networking, I didn't realize this. I'd be talking to people, wound up at the back table with 2 other people instead of really being engaged and having a productive experience. So definitely make sure you know all those things. Okay. Now, the second one that we wanted to mention was be in your comfort level. Prepare yourself before you get to the end, to the event, to be very comfortable with yourself. Make sure you're thinking of this as a positive event, a positive opportunity. Have a positive attitude. And maybe it might take a little bit of acting, especially if people are introverts. It's stepping out of your comfort zone, definitely, and it is for most people, whether they're introverts or extroverts. It's still a very different kind of a situation, so it may take a bit of acting on your part. You definitely want to present nonverbal communication skills that have you appear open and friendly, warm, and confident, and that you, by everything that you're projecting, inspire competency and confidence. And I'm going to show you a couple things on how to do that well. And definitely make sure that you realize you have a lot to offer to people. Understand your strengths and know yourself and how you can best communicate that to other people so that they can get that. Remember, I'm an HR person. I'm there looking for you. And if you communicate yourself very effectively, I'm going to say, well, come on in for an interview. So that might be very important for you. So another one, what are your goals? What do you want to accomplish by attending this particular networking event? Is it 3 or 5 or 7 potential leads or new people that you haven't met before? Okay, keep that goal in mind. That's what you're working towards. If you don't have a goal, you may be just kind of, well, I don't really know what I expect from this. I might just want to go, follow the shrimp bowl for a while and socialize a little bit. But do have a goal. This is your time. This is your energy. And you're there for a purpose and a reason, and it's doing business, definitely. So definitely you want to meet new people. Now, you may have to speak to 30 people to get your goal of meeting 3 or 5 people that are going to be potential leads. Not everyone will be. So you might need to meet a lot of new people. And you definitely want to reconnect or keep connecting with people you do know. Maybe give them something new that they didn't know about you, so you're building your relationship every time you see them. And if you're job seeking, definitely make sure that they know that, if it's appropriate, not if it's your boss or something like that. And if someone within your company, that might be a little politically incorrect. Most functions, most events have hosts or almost ambassadors. So if you've come early, you've seen who's sort of running it. You definitely want to make yourself known to people who are running the function, thank them for the event, and you could even say, could you introduce me to some people? I'm looking for a job or something. This works well for introverts as well. You've already got someone there who has a vested interest in making sure that everyone has a successful event for themselves. So definitely tap into people that are running the event. And that will be very, very helpful for you. Okay, so the next one is be memorable in 5 minutes. This goes into your verbal communication skills as well as your nonverbal. Excuse me. Your voice is 30% and vocabulary is 10% of our making first impression. The 60% is the nonverbal. We'll get into that a little bit also. So how do you become memorable with your verbal communication skills? Well, one is the art of small talk. And that might be about the event or the speaker or the food, especially if you're sitting down to tables and it may not be business immediately. So the art of small talk, being a great conversationalist, is very important. You may not have to know a lot about a lot of things, but a little bit about a lot of things, so you can speak interestingly to a lot of different people. You want to be an excellent listener. Make active listening skills, nod your head and say, oh, yes, that's great, or uh-huh, yes, I understand, or let me just re-say that so I'm sure I'm understanding you. Very important. And, of course, never to interrupt anyone. Now, I'm sure people in the audience have experienced being interrupted, and this is certainly something that we don't want to do, because a person who interrupts will definitely be memorable, but not for the right reasons. What to say about yourself? Okay. You have 5 minutes to say things about yourself, and we're going to go into that a little bit, but you need to know and have all this in place before you get there, and practice it. Once you get there and start winging it a little bit, it's like going into interviews and winging the answers. It usually doesn't work. So you need to have ahead of time, what is it I really want to tell people at this meeting, this event? Is it that you're looking for a job, or you're trying to find a new opportunity for a promotion, or you're just building your networking, and that's fine too. So what do you want to say? And what is it that you want to learn from other people? And that takes your listening skills. You want to find out how you can help them and maybe solve a problem. And then how to disengage, which is a huge, huge issue and concern for many, many people I've coached over the years. But let me just first say how to engage. And you go in, and you're standing in the doorway before you walk into an event. Sort of look around the room. You see people engaged one-on-one, and you may not step up to them until they've disengaged. But go to groups or people who are standing alone and engage by saying your name and start a conversation. It's harder to disengage, and remember, this is a 5-minute interaction. So disengaging, how to do this? It's very uncomfortable. This is not a social function. This is a networking event. The word working is in there. It's a work event. So if you're going to meet your 30 people to get your 5 potential leads to meet your goals, you're going to have to disengage from a lot of other people. So 5 minutes. Disengaging. If you are ready, you've gone through and you realize, okay, this isn't someone that I feel is going to be of a benefit for me in tonight's or in this particular function, or you've already exchanged information and set an action piece in place, such as you're going to connect next week by phone, you're going to call them on Tuesday morning or something, then it's time to disengage, and that's 5 minutes. So you would say, it's been a pleasure interacting with you. Thank you so much. I hope to see you later in the event. I'm going to go mingle. Now, it's how you say it, it's your words, it's your voice, it's the words that you use, it's your vocabulary, and your body language, saying it in a very positive way. And think about it this way also. If you don't, you're taking the other person's time away from them going and working the room also. So disengaging is definitely something, the art of, that you want to practice and feel comfortable with. Now, we all have to have a networking statement that has a couple of different pieces in it that tells people about us very, very quickly, and that's how we do it in 5 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to go through this process, and it's not something that you can do immediately. It takes some time to develop and work on. But this is the process on how to do it effectively. So a brief network statement begins with you clearly and very articulately stating your first and last name. Always, always first and last name. And sometimes, I mean, it's our responsibility to make others feel comfortable with gaining the knowledge of what our name is and remembering it. So, and that's why sometimes people don't remember names, is because someone hasn't presented their name very clearly or succinctly. Now, my name, Jean O'Brien, is pretty easy, and but I would tell you there have been so many times people have said, oh, Gina, it's been so nice talking with you. So I have learned, and there's a big secret to learn, the art of pausing. I say Jean O'Brien. I pause so that people can listen and understand my name more clearly. If you have a name that's very difficult, help someone. Give them information to say, well, it rhymes with, or it sounds something like, you know, if you have a name that's Tracy or Stacy, you might say, it's really Stacy, it begins with an S, especially if the room is crowded and people can't hear everything clearly. That's the first and very important piece. Now, you want to tell people why you're doing what it is. What's your passion? In 5 to 8 words, a very, very quick statement that's going to attract their attention. So if I walk into a room and someone says, I'm a realtor with such and such company, that doesn't do much for me. If they say, well, I'm a nest finder, I'm going to find your next nest, or something clever, I say, oh, that sounds interesting. Mine is when I say, I'm Jean O'Brien, and I believe in advancing careers with executive presence. So that's my opening statement. It's my passion, I believe, okay? So it might be that in your engineering field, I believe in engineering for humanity through whatever your expertise might be. But something that's going to attract people's attention. The next one is, what is it you do? And how can they quickly understand what it is that you do? So mine, as an example, is that I present executive presence skills, which are the confident ability to consistently engage and listen to others while being at ease, presenting your strengths, personality traits, polished appearance, coherent verbal and nonverbal communication skills, and excellent social presence. It's almost like writing your first the summary of a resume. There's commas. It's not a long, drawn-out thing. It's very quick and concise, and there's not a lot of ands and so forth. Just think about comma, comma, comma on what your areas of expertise are. Then the third, there's interaction. You're going hopefully back and forth. The other person's presenting some of this information as well. How do you accomplish what you do in your area of expertise? This is what you do. So mine, I say, is that I bring my human resource experience and my expertise in executive presence, and I help people better prepare and individuals, teams, and organizations to gain advantages rather than miss opportunities. And then I say that I coach individuals and groups on these skills, and I also train others to become executive presence trainers and coaches. And then the fourth, or the fifth one is, or the fourth one, I'm sorry. next one, fifth one, is action. So what can you provide? What can you provide to this person to help them solve a problem, to get some action, or to get a job? So it might be because you've been listening to what they're saying. They've told you the similar information, so you have something to say. So an example for me might be, well, I heard you say that perhaps some of the people in your team are not really understanding and reading other people's body language. It might be beneficial if they learn some more about that. I'd be happy to talk to you to give you more information on how I could come in and help your team to do that better. Are you available next week? May I come in and meet with you, or would a phone call be better? Oh, great. That's wonderful. Are you available Tuesday? All right. Does Tuesday morning work for you? Great. I'll call you 10 o'clock on Tuesday morning. You're being assertive. You're taking action to do this. This is your opportunity. You're the one that wants something done here. So you have to take the action to do that. And this is where you exchange your business card. That's when you feel that there's something that's beneficial between you, not just hand everyone a business card as soon as you meet them. This is the time to do it and move forward and get ready for meeting the next person. Then you say, I'm going to mingle. Look forward to seeing you soon. All right, so we're going to move on to what happens during the event. Okay, so make a fabulous and lasting first impression. Understand what your body language is saying about you and how to read others. Excellent social skills, and know your audience. These are your nonverbal skills going on, 60%. Okay, so let's look at the first one, making a fabulous first impression. Again, 60% nonverbal. This happens in 30 seconds, ladies and gentlemen. You're standing at the doorway, waiting to come into the room, looking around a little bit, but people are watching you. They quickly got an impression of you looking open, confident, approachable. And people are going to say, who's that person? I feel I want to go up and interact with them. All right, well, breaking down some of the parts that go into that are your posture. Having great posture is something that's extremely important to project a level of confidence. All right, so this might be a little bit of acting, but we can all do great posture, so that's great. That's going to be a first step that you want to do, definitely. The next one is that you want to have a genuine smile in place. So let me just interject here. One of the pieces of equipment you need to do this very effectively, all of this, is to have a full-length mirror in your home. So if you don't have one, please do. Look at yourself on all of these different things as if you're looking at someone else and say, do I have great posture? Look at it from the front and from the side. Is my posture great? No, it's not, perhaps. I can start working on that or thinking about it a little bit more. Also, your smile. How many of you, put your hand up, have received sort of fake smiles with just the corner of the mouth go up? Well, we want to have genuine smiles. The mouth goes up and is open a little bit, your eyes sparkle, and they get those wrinkles on the side of your eyes, which are good ones to get, and your eyes look enthusiastic and engaging. Definitely a genuine smile. Eye contact. Some people are not comfortable giving eye contact, but if you've talked with them, you realize that it's not as comfortable as if you were making eye contact with the other person. And that, in our culture, is from the top of the head to the bottom of the nose. That's where eye contact is. And it's not glazing into someone's eyeballs, but it's definitely staying in touch with them that way. Your walk shows that you're comfortable in your own body. Some people kind of slouch around, or they aren't comfortable. They just don't have a nice, pleasant walk about them. You want to make sure yours is. It's not too fast, too slow. You have a nice stride, and it looks very comfortable. You look comfortable doing that. Shaking hands, very, very important. There's one way to do it correctly and lots of ways not to do it correctly. First of all, we want to be, our comfort space, our personal space between people is about 2.5 feet. Unless a room is extremely crowded, we hope we can do that all the time. It's with the right hand only. Now, I've coached people that have had injuries or handicaps who who are not able to use their right hand to do this. So if that is one of your situations, you need to immediately say, I've hurt my hand, I'm not able to shake hands this evening. If you do not extend a handshake, it's going to be perceived as either an insult, or it will be perceived as this person doesn't know what to do professionally. They didn't provide a handshake. Okay, so a correct handshake is with your right hand, fingers, your thumb and fingers go within the other person's thumb and index finger, and excuse me, fingers wrap around the other person's hand, and you give a little squeeze, not too hard. Gentlemen sometimes squeeze hands until we're trying to get, I think, the other person down on one knee. It becomes very competitive. Okay. So shaking hands, and then it's a shake from the elbow, not from the shoulder, and it's about 3 movements up and down. And that's it. Then you disengage. Excuse me. There are some that maybe perhaps we've received. If I saw you in the audience, you would say, oh, yes, I have a great story to tell you about that. But sometimes we receive handshakes that are kind of limpy, or we receive some that what's called the pumper, where they just keep going and keep going and keep going, which are not very comfortable. Or they use the 2 hands, one on top of your hand and one on the bottom of the hand. And there's several others that are perhaps not too comfortable for people, but do remember that giving a professional handshake is important. So practice it with people, get some feedback, and say, is it too hard, too soft, does it sound, does it feel really comfortable to you? We talked a little bit about introducing yourself. Again, make sure that you're saying your first and your second name very clearly, enunciate it correctly. Okay, so if I'm there with you in person, if I had been, I would ask you to, ladies and gentlemen, hold up your writing instrument. What does your pen look like? Is it a blue plastic Bic pen, or does it look professional? This is part of your image. It doesn't have to be a real expensive one, because sometimes we lose them or they're borrowed and so forth. But you can get nice-looking pens for $25, $30, $35, and it will make a big difference, because you might be writing notes, so you won't definitely have a pen. Now, business cards. If you have a business card from an organization, that's great. If you have your own company of business cards. Sometimes you don't. If you're in between jobs, then you need to have a contact card, a card with your name on and how to get in touch with you, your email and telephone number. That's plenty. That's all you need on it. Now, business cards are extremely important. They're expensive for organizations. It's a very important piece of a document to have with you. And when you go to these events, you need to have lots of them. So I said you may be speaking to 30 people. So you need to have lots of business cards and hand them out when I said earlier that it's a time when you've exchanged information for action. Because if you just hand them out to everyone you've met, it may not be that beneficial. So how do you hand out a business card? There's a way to do that. There's an etiquette. Many people, you may have experienced, hand out a business card in what I call flip. They put a business card between their index and middle finger and there's a wrist action that kind of takes it from one person to the other. Well, that's not really professional. I'm going to tell you a different way that will really impress people. And I've had many people come back and say, Jean, people love when I hand out my business card this way. It makes such a difference. So taking your business card and holding it either in the left or the right upper corner and presenting it towards someone so they can see your lovely name and logo and whatever information is on there. This is you saying, this is valuable information that I don't give to everyone. I want you to have it. I'm presenting it to you in a professional way. This is the way I do business, and this is the way I'm going to do business with you. So that's great. No business cards that have been written on with other information, or the corners are all messed up, or it's been folded or crumpled. If they're old, dirty business cards, throw them away, because it's only going to give you a bad first impression, not a good one. Business cards, very important. Dress for success means it doesn't have to be $1 million wardrobe, but it's that it fits well, it complements you, and it's neat and clean and very well taken care of, all your clothing, from shoes to the top. Now, I live in the Washington, D.C. area, and most networking events I go to, you better put a power suit on. So have a power suit, that's comfortable for you and you just feel very confident in. Dress code today is everything from power suits to business casual to business appropriate to casual. It's hard, but judge, make sure you know, and when in question, dress up rather than dress down. This is your first impression. People can always dress down, but dressing up, this is the first time, and that's your first impression. So you definitely want to dress well for success. Name badge, again, if I were in front of you, I'd say, all right, ladies and gentlemen, how many say your name badge goes on your left side? How many on the right side? Okay, I see hands. And how many say somewhere else? I've seen creative presentation of name badges, such as on ties or on the bottoms of jackets, on the hem of a jacket, or down the middle somewhere near in between the buttons or something. The name badge goes, there is one correct place where it goes, and that is the upper right-hand side. This is because the reason we do this is when you're shaking hands, you're connecting with someone, you're making eye contact, you've put the name badge as close as you can with your face. So when someone's making eye contact, they can also take in your face and your name while doing that. Now, I've done a lot of coaching. I've taken companies, their whole teams, to networking events. They've resisted me forever in doing this, and I insist on it, and they've said, Jean, you're right. The first time this person has really remembered my name, and it's because I made it easier for them. Executive presence is all about making it easier for other people to connect with you, to remember you, to be fabulous, to be memorable. So that's part of what we need to do. Excellent. Now, I want to tell you there's, let me just move forward one more step here. Okay, I have a couple of pictures. This is a power look. Now, this gentleman has a lovely tied tie, but his jacket is buttoned. When we stand up, ladies and gentlemen, button your jacket. It will give you a much better fitted and positive impression than your jacket being open. It could be the first one or two buttons. Doesn't have to be all of them for gentlemen, but definitely button your jacket. It's very important to look polished by doing that. Okay. So my next slide, I wanted to demonstrate that a correct handshake. Now, the gentleman on the left, I've used this slide a number of times, and people feel that he's presenting a genuine smile. The woman on the right, we're not quite sure. It's pleasant, but the gentleman definitely has a genuine smile going on, and they look very professional, both of them. Okay, so the next piece that we do is our body language. Body language, excellent. It's a big part of our nonverbal communication skills. So when you're standing at the doorway coming into an event, people read your body language and your nonverbal, your posture, and all these other things that we've talked about, your eye contact and all these different things are all part of body language. So I'm going to just talk a little bit about some of these things. I also want to remind you that on my website, I've recently redone a website, so my newest website is www.jean, Jean, O'Brien, OBRIEN.com. And I have 2 pages worth of body language information that you can look at and print out and follow. There's also 2 articles that I wrote for my blog that I use videos from movies explaining what's happening by their body language. So it's kind of interesting. So let me just say a little bit about these things. Your feet. Now, our feet need to point towards, both feet point towards the person we're speaking to, as well as our bodies, straight on towards the other person. If all of a sudden I point one foot out in a different direction, I'm probably saying I'm ready to go. I want to make a change. I'm ready to go. So make sure your feet are positioned with your body and directly giving that person the impression and the honest impression that you are the most important person in my life right now for this 4 or 5 minutes that we're interacting. Your body language is showing that, along with your posture and your smile and your shaking hands and everything. You're making this person feel most important. That's going to make you memorable because, as you may know, not many people do all of that. So this definitely makes a difference. So face the person with your feet and with your whole body. Now, your arms, when you're standing ready to come into the room, make sure your arms are just comfortably down at your side. That's how we should be if we're not holding things in our hand or if we're not gesturing or something. Getting comfortable. It takes practice because we're not used to doing that. But if you look at politicians or actors on the red carpet and so forth, you'll see that they've practiced, they've become very comfortable with their arms comfortably down at their sides, and that's how you want to be as well. If we cross our arms over the front of us and cross arms, that's setting up a barrier, and we don't want that. Anything that's in front of us, even if you have a drink in your hand and you're holding that in front of you, or if you're holding a portfolio or something in front of you, it's a barrier, and it's saying you're not as approachable or ready to connect with someone. Or if your arms are behind your back, it's not being held behind your back, it's not as approachable either. So make sure that your arms are definitely saying, I'm approachable. Now, hands, we like to see people's hands. And gentlemen, this is a hard one to break and change, but keep your hands out of your pockets. By putting them in your pockets, you're saying, I'm not approachable. And if you look in the mirror, it also throws off your whole lovely polished image because you've got your hands sticking in there, and it just doesn't work, especially if you're someone who jiggles change. That is most distracting. So keep your hands out of your pockets. Use your hands to gesture somewhat, not too much. Again, in front of your mirror, when you're speaking, do you gesture too much so it's a distraction, or is it adding to your verbal skills and emphasizing words that you're saying? Okay, it goes with what you're saying. So there's a lot more on my website that you can look at about all of that. Verbal expressions, definitely want to have a smile, no frown, no squinting, making eye contact. I have seen many people come to networking events and they're chewing gum, so we definitely don't want that. And smoking, I think that's about gone. I'm not sure that happens anywhere, but just as a reminder that it's certainly not something that we want to have. So I have a couple of illustrations. All right. Look at these people. They look so approachable. If you walk into a room and you see these people, you're going to feel, I'm very comfortable going up and speaking to them. They have smiles. The gentlemen have their jackets buttoned. They look very professional, polished. Their arms are down at their sides, and they just look happy. They look like someone you want to speak to. It's all in their body language, their posture. Now, I have another presentation of people who, just by their body language, are conveying something that says, go away, leave me alone. Now, at networking events, you're going to meet all kinds of people. You want to walk up to and approach people who look like this also. They will change because your approach is different and your body language is different, or they may just feel so uncomfortable. But look at some of the behavior. I believe the gentleman has his hands behind his back, no smiles. The eye contact is sort of out of the corner of the eye, hands on hips, arms crossed, all sorts of things. Legs are not, together and comfortable, and no smiles. So again, just to, oops, let me just go back. Just look at that again, the difference. It definitely makes a difference. Okay. Then I also wanted to talk a little bit about business social skills. As an HR person, many times I would take people out to lunch as part of the interview process. It was important as a representative for our company, as it is for many and all companies, that you can present yourself at business social skills and know that you're doing it correctly and will be a good representative for the organization. So everything from a stand-up mingling event with appetizers to sit down. The mingling, standing up is fine. I can't think of an event I went to where there wasn't wonderful food, cheese, and all sorts of things that you really want to gobble up and enjoy. If you're starving when you get somewhere, then please go and get some food on a little plate and stand off to the side and eat. Put everything down, and then you're ready to network. It is not possible, it is impossible. You can't eat and network at the same time. Nobody wants to come up to someone that's chewing food and is going to talk with their mouth full. And people have said to me, well, Jean, how do I balance a glass and a little bit of a plate of food and shake hands and interact? And the answer is, well, you can't. You have to decide one or the other. So please put all your food away, put it down, and then to go mingle. But, I mean, do enjoy some of the food, but do it so you're not doing two things at once. If you have a glass, if you're mingling, walking around with a glass, a beverage, if you have a wine or an alcoholic drink, limit it to one. Definitely. You want to be so clear-headed when you're doing all this. Remember, you've invested a lot of time, some money, you've set all your goals, you've prepared about all this, you know, so you definitely beforehand and now during. So you don't want to get too casual or friendly by having a couple of drinks. So keep one, just drink one drink. Now, the trick is to hold it in your left hand. Keep your right hand free. Your right hand's job is shaking hands. Shaking hands. So keep it dry and ready. So if you have something in your right hand, you have to shift it over, and you're not ready to automatically extend your right hand to shake hands. So be prepared for that. Now, if you're at a sit-down event, you want to show your excellent manners and etiquette. Extremely important. I told you about selecting a table. Well, when everyone's ready to sort of sit down, or the seats have been claimed, then what I always do is get up and I literally walk around the table, introduce myself to everyone, and probably hand out a business card, because I've selected a table as best I can where I feel there's some action. There's people that I want to meet, or they seem like they've been people who have been mingling quite well. So I definitely want to know who they are. And let me just say also that really your manners are being watched, and they need to be glowing. I do a lot of presentations on business social skills for organizations, and it is extremely important in every field that we have this. And it's not something that that we always know what to do, or we have practice, because we are eating fast foods all the time, and we've lost some of these skills. So if you do all these things correctly, you will definitely stand out, and it will be recognized. So I have a picture I wanted to share with you. Now, for some reason, it's not coming out completely clearly. There's some little gaps in it. But what I wanted to emphasize, you can go online and on my website, I believe this picture is on my website, that what you need to remember when you're at networking events, because sometimes we're at crowded tables, there's 6 or 8 of us, and everything is just kind of smushed together. Your bread and butter plate is on the left-hand side. Your glasses and drinks are on the right-hand side. Forks are on the left-hand side. Knives and spoons are on the right-hand side. Napkin is on your, when you place it on your lap. If you have to remove yourself from the table during a meal, it goes on the chair, not up on the table. And ladies and gentlemen, it is extremely important that you know how to use your utensils correctly, to correctly know how to eat American style and continental style, and what to do in the rest and finish positions, where to place your utensils when you're not eating. But most of the time, hopefully, you would put your utensils down and you would converse with people. So if you have forgotten or don't know all of this, I'll come and teach you, or definitely do some research and find out, because it is important, very important. Okay, so moving on, your audience. Most networking events will be a combination of generations, from the boomers to X and Y generations, and each generation has their own level of comfort of interacting and doing these kinds of things. The boomer generation is definitely people who want to interact in person and are happy to do that all the time, and they're very comfortable doing all that. The X generation probably would want to not do all this in person, but they're there and they need to be comfortable with it also. The millenniums, the Y generation, is probably comfortable doing interaction, although they would much rather just do it all in by texting and so forth. But your job is to find out more, to really educate yourself about generations and to know a lot about them, because it's not just at networking events, it's wherever you go. Each generation has its different way of communicating. So please do research and find out more about generations. Also, diverse cultures. We are global. Business is now global, and you need to think globally and be very open to all of that, and realize that people definitely come with different culture experiences, and it's very exciting, but you need to be comfortable with it and realize that, you know, some people display more body language than others. Some people stand closer than other people, or some cultures are, you know, that they're going to be very agreeable and not contradict and so forth. So it's important to become global, professional people of the world today. It's definitely gone global. So that's very important. Now, we've looked at before, during, so there's after, extremely important, equally important, what to do after a networking event. So you definitely, when you get into your car, when you've left the event, you want to get out all of your cards, organize and prioritize them right then and there, because you're still thinking about it before you go home, put them on your desk or something, and say, I'll do this tomorrow. Well, your mind isn't quite as fresh and remembers all the details. So organize, prioritize your business card, make notes on the back of how you can remember these people, what further interactions you want to do, what happened at the meeting with that particular person, and be sure that you really do what you promise people that you're going to do. So if you're going to send them some information or call them, that you really do carry through, because this is your reputation that's on the line. Evaluate yourself in the event. Is it too big? Was it not networking enough? Was it more everybody knew everyone? It was more of a social event. So what do you feel was you know, important about knowing about the event and so forth? Now, 3 things that you felt you did well, and be very good to yourself and generous, because I'm sure you did a number of things well. What did you feel what do you think you did very well? And then perhaps 3 things that you would like to improve. Go back over this information, practice, use your mirror, you know, communicate with someone on, am I really projecting my voice? Am I speaking articulately? Am I enunciating every word? Is my smile genuine? And then you definitely want to gain the advantage rather than a missed opportunity, and reconnect with people within 24, 38, 48 hours. Definitely as soon as you possibly can, to stay connected. It's like another little mini networking. And I'll tell you, actually, most people, it's rare for me to get a lot of feedback after an event. I mean, sometimes I do, and it's very genuine that we're all excited and different things, but people don't follow up. They don't follow through. So they've missed opportunities and to really gain an advantage, which is too bad, because you've done all that work, and then you might as well not do it. You know, it's just all kind of thrown away. So these things are extremely, extremely important. So we've done the before, during, and after, and a lot of information. So I wanted to kind of bring this to a conclusion, to be memorable in 5 minutes, that your networking skills are essential. They're essential throughout your 50, 60-year career, that you need to practice every day, probably, networking skills both internally and externally, even if it's just while you're walking your dogs, or as I said, check out at Safeway or something of that sort, that you are practicing. You're getting more comfortable in talking about yourself, to communicating about your strengths and so forth. Utilize the IEEE events and career coaching opportunities that are available to you through it as an engineer. Definitely, there's a lot going on there to help, and look at other organizations also. Now, for each event, each networking event, be sure that you are prepared before you know what's going to be happening during, and that you really follow up afterward. Extremely important, because all of this is to gain advantages rather than you walk away and say, gee, I really missed a lot of opportunities here. I could have done this better, or I really wanted to get to that person and I didn't, or something of that sort. You want to come away meeting your goals that you set out before you even went to the event. And you definitely want to stand out rather than blend in. Very, very important. I wanted to tell you again because there's more information on my website, and if anyone wants to email me, that's fine also. My email address is Jean, Jean, at Jean-O'Brien, OBRIEN.com. And my website is www.jean-o'brien.com. It's been my pleasure. I hope a lot of this information will be beneficial to you, and it will definitely help to feel more comfortable and confident in doing all of this. And I hope the message also came across as it's a really active participation that goes on regularly. Thank you. Thank you very much. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.
There is two questions in the chat pod. One, what do I say when I want to approach a group at a meeting? I am shy, but want to leave a good impression.
Okay. All right. Thank you. The question is, how do I approach a group? I'm shy, but how can I do this effectively? Very good question. Most of us are not comfortable doing this. What we think is, well, they're going to put their hands up and say, oh, no, go away, leave me alone. That's what we're sort of thinking. Oh, my gosh, I have to be accepted into this group of strangers, people I don't know. The way to do it is, because you're prepared ahead of time mentally for experiencing this, that the way to do it is to walk up around the peripheral of a group, and once you can sort of, if you hear sort of the conversation. Now remember, this is not eavesdropping or anything personal. We're there to do business. This is working. This is a business event. So as soon as someone makes eye contact with you within the group, immediately extend your arm, your hand, to shake hands, say your name, and introduce yourself. And introduce yourself to everyone in the group, because they'll do the same thing. Most people in these groups will welcome you, and they'll be very happy to engage and do that, because that group is going to break up soon too. If they're networking, you know, it's just about 5 minutes. So that's the way. It takes a lot of practice, but thank you for asking. Good question.
The next question is, when I've given someone my business card and they have given me theirs, how hard should I work to make them remember me once I place a call to them?
Okay. So okay. The question is, I've exchanged business cards, I've received someone else's, and how do I make sure I get the attention of following up when I call them and so forth? Yes, thank you. Another good question. Right. It's amazing. People say, oh, yes, I'm available Tuesday at 10 o'clock. Please call me. I look forward to it. And you call, and they're not there, and you call, and they're not there, and they don't respond to you. That happens a lot. The thing is, you can't make them do something different. What you do is be prepared for them not to be there and leave a very, very professional voice message. It was a pleasure meeting you the other night at the networking event. I'm sorry you're not available at this time. We discussed the opportunity of perhaps talking more about body language for your team, and I definitely look forward to connecting with you. I'm going to send you an email with some information in it, and I'm going to call you back, and I'm going to ask if you can tell me of a time that's convenient for you to call me, and we can set up a phone meeting rather than play phone tag. Thank you very much. I look forward to connecting soon, and your name and your phone number. Really, that's all you can do. You want to keep your professional level at the place where, of course, either this person has no interest and they're never going to connect with me again, or there was a legitimate reason they weren't available for that particular meeting. And they should have contacted you and let you know, but if they didn't write it down and so forth. So that's what I do. I leave a message, and then I also follow it up with an email. And if you try that a couple of times and you're not getting any response, then it's like interviewing. You know, you keep other things going in the pipeline, keep going with other things. And it's amazing. Sometimes I hear from people a month or a couple of months later, and they say, you know, I saw you at this networking event. We were going to talk. It didn't happen. Things just got out of control and so forth. Can we connect now? So you've done your part of being memorable and being very, very executive presence professional. Thank you for asking.
Okay. The next and last question is, you mentioned detachment. How can you quickly and professionally detach yourself from someone who is clingy and you really need to move on?
Right. It's hard. Yeah. I mean, how many times have all of us been caught with people that forever want to talk about football or themselves, or people who are not great networkers will ramble on and on and on about their company. They want to tell you everything about it, and there's no connection. There's nothing that relates to what you're really interested in, and they're totally oblivious to connecting or interacting with someone. I'm going to put my networking picture up here so you can look at this again, because this is what we're doing. It's very, very hard, and it's almost like waiting for a pause to say, well, that's very interesting. I really enjoy hearing that. Thank you so much. I hope to see you later in the event. I'm going to go mingle. Now, it may sound rude. It depends on how you say it, the words you use, the smile that goes with it, the very professionalness, because the thing is, you really can't afford to spend a lot more time with someone like that who's not going to be productive, because you're missing opportunities to gain advantages for yourself. And if you say that nicely, that's the very best thing you can do for yourself and for them. They need to hopefully learn or figure out at some point, wow, this isn't working for me. And then tell them to call me and I'll coach them. But there are just many, many people out there that are totally oblivious to how to do this, or don't realize that they are talking so much about their company and going on and on about their careers or something, and they're not interacting at all. So at that point, you have to realize this is not a professional interaction. And again, be very executive presence, and say, or even just say, excuse me, this is very interesting, and I would like to learn more perhaps later this evening. Right now, I need to go mingle with a number of people who are here. So that I've done that in the past too. And if you smile nicely enough and say, excuse me, and thank you, and all of that, you are being as polite as you possibly can and professional. So it's not easy, though. But thank you for asking. Does that help?
Okay, we're at, yes, very much. We're at the end of our webinar, and on behalf of IEEE USA, I want to thank Jean for her excellent presentation, and I also want to thank the attendees. And I'm going to end the webinar now.
Thank you. Bye.